Hey guys, and welcome to the 5th ThrowCast, live from the Throw Cave. My name is Anurag Day. Next we have Paul Steyer.
Hi.
And our special guest for today is Arnab Ahmed.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, talking all about the data. This is our playtesting / data guru.
So, first of all...
You now have a title.
And I have a title.
You can go on all your business cards.
Data guru.
Yeah.
So to start off with, some news for this week. We had our third playtest this week and our second open playtest at Bits and Pieces.
We did.
Lots
So
of fun.
Paul, would you like to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was at a bar, like all Bits and Pieces are. It's a pretty amazing event that IGDA puts on. And yeah, we just put our game out there, had a fair few people playing it, and yeah.
And as you were
got some
saying,
really good data.
we were probably the last game standing at the
We
very...
were.
Yeah.
Because our game, we had a lot of levels, it took people a long time to play it, so there were people waiting to play it.
Which is a nice feeling.
Which is always nice, right?
Until midnight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
till pretty much midnight.
Okay, so
Anyway,
second piece of news is the IMF.
Interactive Media Fund.
Not the International Monetary Fund.
No, not the Impossible Mission Fund.
So, what that means for us is that shit's getting real.
Holy shit.
Yeah, as our notes are saying, holy shit, shit is getting real.
In other words, we now need to get our business plan together. We've got to get our business on and do that shit.
Yeah, if you might remember a couple of weeks ago, we had the Digital Ignition Fund that Paul and I worked very late on.
That was nothing
compared to this.
Like,
we opened up this application, we're just like, we can't do this.
So much. We have 3 weeks of solid work ahead of us, but that's okay. That's a sprint.
Yeah.
3 weeks, it's a sprint. We're fine.
In other news, we have had
a metric fuck ton of development.
So,
not to be confused with an imperial shit ton.
So we've really just decided that the explicit tag...
Shitload, sorry.
The explicit tag is definitely going on this video.
Cunt.
This has gone off the rails so quickly. So for getting ready for Bits and Pieces, we made a lot of new levels. We did a lot of new development of new types of things. Like we have things where you can spawn particles from... as a player, you can control when particles are spawned. You can... we have the strong force in play. We have levels with all these things interacting and doing lots of cool shit.
Yeah, and the force lines have gone and to be replaced with...
Force blobs.
Yeah, force blobs.
Yeah. Blob the force.
So hopefully we can get a video up of that.
Not this week.
Not this week, but at some point.
No, it took too long to edit the last one.
We're trying to find a way of doing it. We'll find a way, but we'll get the video up at some point. So, now for the big thing for this week, we brought Arnab in as our special guest, and he's going to be talking about playtesting and data analysis. So first of all, what is playtesting and data analysis?
Okay, cool. So essentially what I'm really focusing on is just getting some hard data from people playing the game, thereby playtesting and getting data, So what I'm pretty much looking at is trying to get measures using how people do in the game, and hopefully informing design later on. It's probably going to be a little bit easier talking about it in terms of what we want and what we found.
So, I mean, for instance, from Bits and Pieces, this is just doing off qualitative data so far. We haven't had time to go through the quantitative data yet.
In the week.
Yeah, it's going to take a bit of time to sort through that. But the qualitative data so far, just from people talking to us, has been that we need to really focus. We've been focusing on finding lots of different types of gameplay so far. And the feedback we've got pretty much says that the next thing we really need to focus on is teaching and getting those initial levels to really figure out how we're going to teach this gameplay, because it is very new, it's very different. A lot of people are finding it a little bit confusing when we introduce new things, and we really just need to get that right. And getting and it's interesting because usually at this stage we'd be looking to get a vertical slice somewhere in the middle of the game to again get our gameplay right. But because of this, we kind of actually need to do a vertical slice right at the start of the game to get our teaching methods right. And that's something we can't test as well ourselves as we can as we can if we get other people in. And so because of that, we have to start at the start. It's really a bit awkward because of it.
Yeah. So kind of where I'm coming from after going to Bits and Pieces is I'm trying to get a few measures of how we can structure the levels in an appropriate manner so that the player can progress without getting frustrated or saying, "Oh, this game is shit, I'm leaving." So kind of what I'm looking at the moment is trying to get a few measures of player frustration. So trying to see how much they enjoyed the level. So there's a subjective how much fun is this level? How challenging was this level? That'd be put onto the bits and pieces playtest. Also, kind of looking at how often a level was skipped, how long when a certain player stopped playing the game. So if all players kind of got to level 20 and decided fuck this, we might need to work on level 20.
Yeah. And the other thing about that is like the challenge fun scores is always going to be interesting just because some people aren't going to bother putting in the scores, and so we've got to kind of look for the outliers and figure out what scores are actually what players are giving real scores and what players are just trying to get to the next level.
Yeah, so I'm kind of thinking of sorting through players, finding out their scores and figuring out which ones are meaningful. But I think it's going to be really annoying because there's more than just confounds. I mean, levels at the start of a level are more likely to be skipped just because, say, someone like yourself or whoever was running the playtest would have skipped level just to show someone a more advanced concept. Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of noise in my data, as we like to put it in the data analysis world.
They have their own world.
Wait, there's noise in my data.
It's the signal to noise ratio, actually. That's what it's all about, the SNR.
So do you have any strategies for the future in terms of data analysis and gameplay?
Yeah, actually. One of the things I'd really be interested in trying to do is get heat maps of a level. So essentially, pretty much logging where each player places their character, which in this case is a down quark. Yep. So their down quark, and essentially just and averaging that for every level for every player. Essentially giving you a map of routes or strategies that certain players did more often than other players. So a cool thing would be to do is to differentiate strategies based upon player skill. So how long it takes a player to complete a level, how often they died, things like that, and kind of figure out how we can get those players who kind of suck at the game to the same standard as players who are very good. How can we make these strategies they employ more accessible to earlier?
So that sort of goes back to making a learning curve which is more accessible to everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
And it also goes back to figuring out, for instance, who's a good player, which is something else that which is going to be interesting because some playtests you want only really good players, and sometimes you only want really novice players so that you can test the learning of it. And so one of the things we're going to have to work with is essentially figuring out from the outset who's a good player and who's not.
So there's two things we're kind of thinking about doing for there. One of them is to get a soft report, how awesome do you think you are? Mega awesome. And actually seeing if that actually correlates to how well they do in the game. So we can send them a nice letter, 2 weeks later on saying, you're not mega awesome. You are mega noob. Quote unquote.
I feel that's going to be the nicest thing to say to them.
I guess I don't want to do that anyway.
Yeah.
Or maybe just a letter with 4 letters on it. FAIL.
Anyway, the point is that you'd have a self-reporting sort of thing that they could fill out at the start of before they play the game. We see the results and see the correlation between how well they think they can play a game compared to how well they actually
do the game. And of course, another thing we've been thinking of doing is getting a small mini level, so maybe somewhere at the middle of the game, so you can get how well they play on that one level and see if that informs us on how well they'll play through that whole playtest.
Yeah. And do it on the website on sign up to our playtesting system.
Yeah.
So probably using our Flash version.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that wraps it up for today.
That really does.
Cool. Thank you so much for watching again. Yeah. Throw the Looking Glass, ThrowCast number 5. Please join us on Twitter at Throw the Glass, on Facebook at Throw the Looking Glass, and on YouTube where you
are the Looking Glass.
You're watching us right now.
We're creative with that.
We're so good at this. So, Paul, you had a sign off that you wanted to try out today.
Oh, so long and thanks for all the fish.
So long and thanks for all the fish.
So long and thanks for all the fish.